Hey, welcome back to Progressive E. This is our review on the Ebmx Swingarm, their shock and their linkage kit. I suppose it's going through a bit of the specs and what you need. Previously we ran a DHX2 Fox shock. I was really happy with that compared to the original OEM D&M shock that we had before. Basically this is a shorter stroke, but with Ebmx's actual triangle and their linkage kit, it gives you the same length stroke that you had originally. So the quality of the gear looks really, really good. And as far as the swing arm goes, it's a lot meatier. It does feel a lot more stable when you're riding. I suppose I'll start with my initial impressions of the shock initially. I did a lot in one hit, so we did the swing arm, the shock, and the linkages in one section. Basically, my initial reaction was like, this thing's really, really soft. Once I dialed everything in, the high speed, compression, etc. I still thought it was a bit soft. We did some footage originally just testing the DHX2, how it would bottom out on a jump versus what this would bottom out. So we did the same jump, relatively the same speed. Sure, will roll that footage obviously over this. But what you'll be able to see is basically that this thing doesn't bottom out anywhere near the same. It does feel softer and it's really, really compliant. I actually think there's been a lot of R&D in this behind the scenes. Knowing the guys at Ebmx, I don't think they put out a product unless they were, happy with what they were kind of putting their name to. It's an excellent shock. It's definitely better than a DHX2. I'd recommend this over anything. It's bigger, it's fatter, it's more like a dirt bike shock, which I think is rated for this.
Yeah, it definitely felt nice. It doesn't feel mountain bikey, it just it feels very dirt bikey. It doesn't.
It's a lot less poppy, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like the mountain bike shock and even the front forks being mountain bike shocks, they're just not made for it. It doesn't feel right where this setup actually feels right in the back end. Yeah, I was really quite happy with it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't jumped it big yet. Not that Jared probably would let me, but I feel like it will handle it a lot better than the DHX X.
It feels really good. If you're thinking, do I need the Ebmx shock or should I go some really expensive high-end mountain bike shock? Honestly, stick with this. When you compare like a DHX2 next to this YSS shock,
it just dwarfs it.
It dwarfs it. It's huge. Everything about it is big, it's beefy. And when you start modifying these bikes and start putting bigger wheels, etc. on them, like you do need parts that are really designed for it, and at least we know that is designed for it and tested for it. So, like that being said, like the spring rate, which I initially thought was too soft. Having tried both spring rates, I think that Ebmx have got that correct for my weight. So I'm an 85, 87 kilo rider. I definitely recommend just their settings. So they'll tell you that for my weight, it would be 100 Newton meter spring. I did try the 110 Newton meter spring. I did find it to be a little bit too stiff. I think this is really compliant. It's soft. It will never buck you off. It does everything you want it to and it's effortless. It just feels like a good engineered product at the end of the day. Honest opinion, I really like it, essentially. Truett, what's your honest opinion of it? Would you buy it?
Yeah, I'd buy it. It's definitely a nice upgrade and it's what the bike needed. Now, in my opinion, it now makes these look bad when you're riding it. My opinion, it just doesn't feel the same. Like the actual, when you land, it doesn't compress the same. It feels off. It almost like it tips too hard in the front and then the back just soaks it, and it's like. It's just different. They're very different from each other. So I feel like, a bit more of a high-end fork, more dirt bike related than mountain bike is probably the next thing for the bike to really just finish it off nicely.
I guess end of the day, this is kind of really a bike that has never had a category before. It's not a dirt bike, it's not a mountain bike, it's in between. So I think if someone can develop a front shock that is still lightweight, that is kind of more geared towards like dirt bike kind of weight, I think that'd go off. Like I think that's something that someone needs to develop. The mountain bike forks don't cut it. They're okay. They're better than what, using bombers or, Fox 40s is definitely an upgrade, but there's still a lot to be desired when you go to something like this and you realise someone's put thought and attention to detail into it.
Swing arm.
Cool. So talking about the swing arm, I think this thing's a game changer. I think it makes the Suron handle better. Even on the bike stand, the bike is a lot more balanced. So if you've ever done jumps on a Suron, you know that it is very front heavy and you have to lean pretty far back. And if you are running the standard Swingarm mode, you obviously can't rev wire in the air because you can't pull the bike back. But if you have a KO mode, you can do that. So look, I think the handling's better. I think the balance is better. Trort will speak about the wheel stands in a second, whether he feels he's happy with, can you still wheel stand it? I don't know whether this keeps the front down. Like I've seen a few people comment of other brand and Ebmx as well, whether it allows you to keep the power down. I just think the bike just needed a slightly longer frame. If you're thinking about buying this and you think it's an expensive item, I honestly would buy it. Like if you're serious about having the best Swingarm you have, or that you can get, like I would get this. It's awesome on the trails, it's awesome for handling. It's a good product. I 100% recommend it. Something as well, like this part of the wheel will obviously move, and I can see like it flexing videos. The flex side to side is a lot less because this thing is so much beefier. Obviously the attention to detail from the guys at Ebmx has been great, and obviously reducing this flex, and you can feel it. It's the first thing you notice when you hop on it. You think the rear end feels really solid, and it's the first thing I noticed when I changed to 18-inch rear is that I could actually feel looseness in the rear, and it was basically because I put extra stress on this with the factory swing arm and things were flexing. You do this and it just feels really rock solid. And you notice when you're in a corner, if it's really wet and you're drifting around the mud, it just holds where you want it. You just get a bit more control. As far as like just general handling, it still corners in fine. I don't see it being that much slower. Obviously it must be slower to tuck in if you were talking about a really dry condition. But as far as like, you know, riding trails, etc., I think this is a great move, especially after like an enduro style Swingarm. Trort, what do you reckon about the wheelies? You're better than I am, so.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. It doesn't change it too much. It's you know, if you know how to wheel stand, you can wheel stand any bike. But it's the one thing it does do, it puts you a little bit higher up. The leverage point, obviously you're along the swing arm, so you know you gotta try a little bit more to get it up. Like especially if you're in a higher speed where, like say like my Swingarm will pick it up pretty much anywhere. I can always sort of pick it up even if I'm getting along a bit. You know, whether that's, you know, if I really am struggling, get on the knee and just get that the rear end to squat and pull him up. That struggles a bit more when you're going at a higher speed, but it's really here or there. It's like you don't really want to be doing wheel stands at a high speed anyway. So
that's probably with the factory Swingarm motor too.
Yeah,
yep.
That's right. So that's the other thing. So with this new KO motor that we're pretty excited about, it will definitely pull the front end up for us just nicely. So that will be the next thing that is in motion, which we're working on at the moment.
Definitely are. Look, if you're thinking about buying it, I would definitely go for it. I think it's a great product. If you ride trails and you have 1821, I would go with this. You'll be surprised how much better it is. Like, I can vouch just on muddy terrain at the moment because it is quite wet in Tasmania where we live in Australia. It's really, really good for basically the muddy stuff at the moment and the drifting around the corners. It just gives you this little bit of extra control that you didn't have with the factory rear Swingarm.
I mean, the only thing I want to touch on is, and it was brought up to me by when we did that update video, there was someone that commented and saying that the Swingarm shop, their Swingarm looks better. I agree. I think it does look better. The only thing is obviously we haven't tested it, but you know, it could be that it's not as strong, you know, where this is, even though this looks a bit uglier, it's definitely sturdy. So that would be nice when I eventually do it, to basically to buy that Swingarm instead and compare the two. But I think I would definitely be getting this rear shock. It feels really nice. But yeah, the two coupled together with the 1821s feels really good as a solid dirt bike. And as I said, I think it's just these front forks now that just let it down. And so, you know, once we get a better option for that, I think you'll be laughing. And yeah, and I think once we've got a bit more power to pull this setup a bit more, you know, a bit more get up and boogie type thing, that'll be really sick as well. And they'll just finish it off. It's just a really sick bike and just eat every dirt bike and put them in the dust. So.
Sweet. So end of the day.
Dirt bike, that is.
Alright, sweet. So end of the day, we like the shock. We think it's excellent. Just remember, if you do buy this Ebmx shock, you do want their linkage kit. It does adjust the geometry, so you will need the whole setup. I think you can miss the triangle, but you will need this lower link. But I think they're sold as a pair. Swingarm, we love. Just buy it. I think it's worth going for. If you're wondering about it, it's definitely worth trying it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching Progressive E, and we'll see you soon. on a 6-year-old. I'm also thinking